Timta, Hassa, Fi Paren Shil Re, Abdurkul Shayuat, Biwa Samus, Pa Timta, Anuki Maku Nubu Yunat Sagar, Maku Shil At-sik-hata Shil Yamassee Nuwabianat, Wahaza Kalun Chassid Yawum, Wahid Naya Chassidin Tamid. Greetings, I'm Chief Nanya Shaabu of the At-sik-hata Nation of Yamasee-Moors, and this is 5-day comment number 158. This 5-day comment number 158 is brought to you thanks to Professor Mustafa Hefny. This has been a fantastic revelation. It's been a while that I have been able to address this, or actually counterclaim and contest this. This is a video, Persecution and Struggle, dated 2012, August 2nd. And this is going to give the background for those who are not familiar with Professor Mustafa Hefny or Mustafa Hefny. He is a Nubian Egyptian from Egypt, immigrated to the United States Corporation, and as going through U.S. Customs, he was told he's to be classified as white, and he's fought the government for about 25 years to have his classification changed to black, so he's had a problem with that. So this is dedicated to Professor Mustafa Hefny. Any of his supporters that see this video, please, do a favor and make sure that he gets a copy of this. And this is a planetary Professor Mustafa Hefny challenge for him, for anybody that sees this link, to give it to him, email it to him, tweet him, and inform him that he actually is incorrect, and U.S. Customs is correct in classifying him as white due to the definition person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. So I'm going to play this video here.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Mustafa Hefny. As you can see, I'm a black man, but I'm classified as white according to Directive number 5.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to have to break this down step by step. So now, for him to say he is a black man is actually incorrect. And what we're going to go, since he's a doctor, we're going to go to, let's go here first. Color psychology. So if you go to this website, I'm going to make it a point to do an exception because this is a very important 5-day comment, number 158. And I'm going to put all the links in here so everybody has the links in the description box. And so they won't have to be you're not going to have to go searching. You could just click the links and go directly to it. And this is the problem with the so-called education, what do they call it? Education system. It's a programming system. And so they're not giving people proper knowledge. They're giving them programming on how to function and operate in a fake society system. So when we look at color psychology, does it affect how you feel? How colors impact moods, feelings, and behaviors? So down here, they said this is how exactly color works. So how exactly does color work? How is color believed to impact mood and behavior? So when we see color psychology, I'm going to make this bigger. We're going to go through all the different colors. Now the first one they start off with, which is interesting, and I guess that goes back to the saying people want to hear the bad news first and then hear the good news. So now black, evil, unhappiness. I don't see any black people on the planet educationally, whether they work in law enforcement, whether they work in the legal community, schools, scholastic scholars, constitutional black lawyers, like Barack Obama. I'm not seeing them in any colleges, not seeing them in any universities, specialized schools, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, PhDs. None of them, psychology, psychiatry, none of them are saying that this is negative or it's prejudicial or discriminatory. It's accepted that black is evil or unhappiness. Then you have white, which is right immediately after it, white, purity and innocence. Then you have red, love, excitement, blue, calmness, sadness, green, envy. So we'll stop there for color psychology. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Old Beautiful. So we're going to go to the Old English Anglo-Saxon Dictionary. And I don't understand why Professor Mustafa Hefny has not understood this, since he taught at a university. He's a doctor, so he should know this. Physician, heal thyself. So just scrolling down here so we can get to the definition of black. It's an adjective. It means bright, shining, glittering, flashing, pale, pallid, wan. And then we're going to go to the Magistro. Okay. And we're going to see the definition in modern English of what white meant in Old English. So today, when one calls oneself white in modern English, in Old English, it's black. So Professor Mustafa Hefny, as you can see here clearly, oh, wrong one. As you can see here clearly, he is not black. You could see on his right shoulder, which will be your left, the garb that he is wearing, that is black. As you can see in the shen that he used, which is similar to what they use in ancient Egypt, as you can see right here, the background here is black. So if he really was black in the true sense of the word, shouldn't this have been a white background with his name in black? Instead, it's not. It's in like a tan color, earth tone, as they would say. So we already got this figured out, that Professor Mustafa Hefny is not black. Okay, so that's clear. So for all you supporters of Mustafa Hefny, all of you who are trying to publish and say he's undergoing a plight from the U.S. government, no, he's contracted with the U.S. government. The U.S. government, based on their definitions, is staying in honor. Professor Mustafa Hefny, unfortunately, has been in honor for the last 25 plus years, because when we go to the definition as per the U.S. Department of Education, so I don't comprehend how Professor Mustafa Hefny is not aware that, especially when they told him in this country, you are white, and that is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. And it's not about skin color. So the categories do not denote scientific definitions of anthropological origins. So they're not talking about skin color, they're talking about commerce, because the United States is a federal corporation as defined under Title 28 USC Section 3002, paragraph 15A. And then we are going to go to the census, and you see the same definition for white, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Now, on the U.S. Census website, it specifically says that the U.S. Census Bureau must adhere to the 1997 Office of Management and Budget Standards on Race and Ethnicity, which guide the Census Bureau in classifying written responses to the race question. So now, you see the definition of black or African American, a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. So, for Professor Mustafa Hefny, as well as any of those who are his supporters, people who are sharing his tweets, his videos, etc., can you please name a black racial group of Africa? And I'm not going to wait because there isn't one. So Professor Mustafa Hefny, that is another example of being in dishonor. So when we go down, the 1997 OMB standards permit the reporting of more than one race. An individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. An individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. And the Census Bureau does not tell individuals which boxes to mark or what heritage to write in. So when we go, for example, what is race, the data on race were derived from answers to the question on race that was asked of individuals in the United States. The Census Bureau collects racial data in accordance with the guidelines provided by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, and these data are based on self-identification. So to self-identify as Black when there is no Black racial groups of Africa is a dishonor of the highest magnitude. So the U.S. Customs actually was helping him out, and people from North Africa, when they emigrate, yes, you are to classify yourself as white. That is the correct way. Those who are Black or African American have no history. They're essentially slaves, or as wisely said, they're outside of body politic. So now let's continue on.
15 of the Office of Management and Budget. I am an Egyptian Nubian and naturalized American citizen. I was a bilingual resource teacher with the Wayne County Regional Education Service Agency in Wayne, Michigan, until I indicated that I am Black on the employment records of this agency. This was the end of my happiness. The following is the story.
What did he say? The end of his happiness was when he turned and called himself Black. So for all you Black people, especially, what's that guy? The guy who always say, read it up, look it up, right? That's the example. They're telling you Black is a contract and there's nothing positive that's going to come out of it. Oh, and I challenge anyone on the planet that can defend Black legally, can defend Black commercially, defend Black anthropologically, historically, factually, mathematically, chemistry. I want to see somebody that can defend it. But I'll give you a hint. Remember, as Barack Obama had admitted to, that the word Black has no standing at law. So think about that before, if you are, if you think you're going to take this challenge on, I'm giving you a caveat, a warning.
Of my 25 years of persecution and struggle since I stated on the employment records of the above agency that I am Black. Before I start this story,
remember, Black means to make pale. Language is important.
I would like to point out that last month, on June 29, 2012, I filed a complaint with the UN Office of Human Rights against the US government.
The United Nations Office of Human Rights, which is the UNOHCHR, of which At-sik-hata Nation is a CSO, an NGO, an IPO. I can tell you, Professor Mustafa Hefni, with absolute certainty, accuracy, and competence and confidence that Black is not entitled to human rights, because Black is not a people.
The purpose of this complaint was to ask the United Nations to help me get reclassified as a Black person. To view this letter, go to Mustafa, middle initial A, Hefni on Facebook. On June 29, 2012, I also wrote a letter to President Obama asking him to give me the Black classification in an out-of-court settlement. To view this letter, also go to Mustafa A. Hefni on Facebook.
Okay, so we're going to pull it up because we're doing this as it's happening. Where are we at here? Yeah, beautiful. I like this website here. It's off the Facebook page. It's a screenshot, but I like this one here. This is that me.me/I/Barack Obama. Okay, so you can see it here. So, and this is straight from October 16th, 2012. Now, what Professor Mustafa Hefni had stated, we'll back it up and get the date when he wrote Barack.
In an out-of-court settlement. To view this letter, asking him to give me the Black classification in an out-of-court settlement. On Facebook. On June 29, 2012, I also wrote a letter to President Obama asking him to give me the black classification in an out-of-court settlement. To view this letter, also go to Mustafa A. Hafni on Facebook.
Okay, so now we'll go back to the tab here. Why are they refreshing while we're recording? Amazing. We just pulled it up, so at least we can, when people see this, they'll understand this is the effect we have on the matrix. And it's properly classified as artificial mechanical uterus. Barack Obama says black has no standing at law. So this is October 16, 2012. He said it was back in June, right? 29th. Let's make sure we get the date right. I don't mind going back. We want to be precise about this.
2012, on June 29,
29th is when he wrote Barack Obama. On the 16th of October of the same year, so this is 4 months later after Professor Mustafa Hafni wrote President Barack Obama, also known as Barry Soetoro, Black in Public, Black Out Loud, and Black on Purpose. He said it, not me. So Tom Joyner interviews President Barack Obama on his Tom Joyner Morning Show and greets him by saying it's our first black president of the United States. President Obama replies, Tom, I don't look at myself as the first black president because the word black has no standing at law. So you got your answer publicly. So Barack was talking to you, Professor Mustafa Hafni, in the public, addressing you by saying the word black has no standing at law. So he gave you your answer, and you wanted to do an out-of-court settlement. He gave you an out-of-court response, meaning you have no standing at law. Why would you, who are from Egypt, classified as white, which has nothing to do with skin color, want to become black? And then when the definitions are read in the old Anglo-Saxon language, the word black means to make pale, of which you certainly are not. So that's not something that you would want. That's not a positive attribute. So we'll continue on now.
2012, I also wrote a letter to President Obama asking him to give me the black classification in an out-of-court settlement. To view this letter, also go to Mustafa A. Hafni on Facebook. In June also, I posted an electronic petition on Facebook. To sign this petition or to view it, please go to the electronic petition.
Don't sign the petition, but definitely look at it. See how many people are asleep that support, who have melanin, that actually think they're black, which means to make pale, to shine, or to glitter.
This is the story of my 25 years of persecution and struggle. I immigrated to the US in 1978 and became a US citizen in 1985. I was a bilingual resource teacher with the Wayne County Regional Education Service Agency, which will, from this point on, be referred to as Wayne County RESA, starting 1981. In 1987, the Wayne County RESA sent all employees a form called the Race Ethnic Identification Card. We were requested to indicate our race on this card. I indicated that I was black. A short while later, the Director of Human Resources sent me a letter threatening me that I would be terminated and my career would be destroyed if I did not change my classification on this card from black to white. This
message, people, because he went through US Customs, and so they have him on contract as white, so he's white on contract, and now he's trying to go opposite of that, which puts him on the lowest point on the caste system that the United States Corporation has. So that puts him in a dishonor because they know he's originally from Egypt. And so that in that white classification of where he came from, he's in dishonor by wanting to be black because that means it's not true.
This letter was copied to the superintendent, Dr. William Simmons. To view this letter, go to Mustafa A. Hafni on Facebook. Additionally, a white top administrator of this agency, initial S, told me that if I said that I am black again, no one would hire me. And if hired, I would be running from one job to another for the rest of my life. I disclosed the name of this top administrator in my letter of June 14, 1989 to the US Attorney General. My powerful former employer appeared to continue to follow up on these threats to this day. I was severely harassed, ridiculed, humiliated, denied promotions twice.
And that's what comes with being Black or African American. That's part of the contract, that you agreed to be persecuted.
And I was fired 5 times.
Because you're Black. Black is not a people.
I have lost my professional career.
They told you this was going to happen before it happened, Professor Mustafa Hefny. You didn't believe that. As a doctor, you should put a focal point on knowing languages. Once you know the languages, the origins and the etymology, especially as it relates to what's happening modernly, then it makes complete sense. That's why I am glad I am white. I am American Indian. Abu Gadur, white power.
House, my car, and I was forced to file for bankruptcy. 3 years ago, I was working a menial job doing door-to-door sales, and Wayne County Teresa applied pressure on my employer to fire me. I had quit, avoiding the trauma of being fired for a 6th time.
Six times you've been fired because they know you have a history. The U.S. Customs told you that. You didn't want to listen. So that means you're in dishonor from the viewpoint that they have being a corporation. Now, we know what your history is. This is a assimilation into a different system. This is the wording that we use. Remember the old saying, when in Rome? So clearly they're giving you the opportunity to be at the top, and you chose to go, you were at the top and chose to go to the bottom.
It's important to point out that even though Wayne County Teresa provides support and consultant services to Wayne County, which is 30% Black, the superintendent was white, his 4 associate superintendents were white, and 95% of the administrators and consultants were white.
Because Black has no standing at law. You didn't listen to Barack Obama.
I filed 4 complaints with the teachers union, but the union refused to file grievances, and the president of the union, who is white, was promoted to the position.
Actually, they're lepers, so let's get that all cleared up, shall we? Let's see here. Okay, so this will help Professor Mustafa Hefny out, that he had everything right. They put him on a pedestal, they put him on a decent throne, and Professor Mustafa Hefny actually messed that up. So here's the opportunity. This is a gift I'm giving to Professor Mustafa Hefny to admit that you're white, and not talking about skin color. Admit that you are white, and as you admit that you are white, then you don't have to worry anymore about the persecution, because Black has no standing at law. You can't even find a definition of Black in Black's Law Dictionary. So genetically pale skin is a genetic mutation. Much appreciation to Professor Jin Lee and Dr. Keith Chang. Let's see, which one will we pick? Oh yes, let's pick this one here. This is with Dr. Cress-Welsing. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to show the definition. This is leper supremacy, which has been on Facebook for about the same 6 or 7 years now. Let's see, what we got a date here. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so this is the leper supremacy definition. Dr. Cress-Welsing, before she died, had requested if anyone had a better definition to please give it to her. So we did, and I did give it to her. and her response was silence. And this was one of the last, as you see the pictures here, these were one of the last lectures that she did at Howard University before she died. And she was asked the question, why are we still calling ourselves black? We should not be calling ourselves black, to which her response was she squirmed. That's how she dealt with it, and she didn't deal with answering the question. She tiptoed around it. So what we're going to look at here is leper supremacy. So race-ism equals leper-supremacy is the local, national, global, solar system, galaxy, matrix, 3D holographic, illusionary power system, construct, and dynamic, structured and maintained by lepers, albinos/albinism, genetically recessive beings who deliberately misidentify themselves as white in association with other non-planetary and interplanetary entities, whether consciously or subconsciously determined, which consists of patterns of perception, logic, symbol formation, thoughts, speech, action, spiritual, mental, temporal, energy, definition, code, language, tone, vibration, frequency, sound, light, resonance, motion, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people and commercial activity. Economics, education, commerce, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, military, industry, sports, science, medicine, sex, and war for the ultimate purpose of leper, misnomer white, genetic survival, and to prevent leper, misnomer white, genetic annihilation on Tiamat, Ta Zurukaya Kai, known as the planet Earth in the English translator. So this is what's going on. So now let's get back to his video. So that clears that up. So people who are melanin recessive, who have pale skin, melanin recessive, are lepers. So the inability to produce melanin.
Of Director of Labor Relations. I filed 2 EEOC discrimination charges, but my powerful former employer used its high-level connections to get them dismissed. Between 1989 and 1991, I filed 5 complaints with the U.S. Attorney General, Mr. Richard Thornburg, but my powerful former employer used its high-level connections to block them, so they were never investigated. I have 20 pages of information documenting the violations of my rights. When I wrote
Black has no standing at law, Professor Mustafa Hefni. I implore someone on the planet, please contact Professor Mustafa Hefni, give him this link as well as the 5-day comment number 109, and hopefully he will accept the fact that he made an error and embrace the fact that commercially he is white and it's to his advantage to be that.
To the U.S. Attorney General, I expected his office to write back to me, asking for my information and evidence. However, I never heard from his office and no investigation was conducted. In 1992, I filed a lawsuit against Wayne County RISA, but it was dismissed. In 1994, I filed another lawsuit against Wayne County RISA and it was settled out of court. In 1994, I resigned. In 1997, I filed a lawsuit against the US government requesting black classification and declaratory judgment that classifying me as white violates my constitutional and civil rights.
Okay, blacks are not entitled to constitutional, human, civil, international laws or protections. So the US government has not damaged you because you don't even exist. Now we're gonna go back to that, but want to look over, he called it cultural genocide. Black is not a culture, just like hip hop is not a culture. It isn't. US government forces Egyptian Nubians to be classified as white and not black. That's based upon the definition, which I've already read. So this is, again, talking about Dr. Mustafa Hefni is an Egyptian Nubian and a naturalized US citizen. He is a US citizen as a corporation. He is a black man who is politically black, again, means to make pale, and black has no standing at law. So he is a black, who has no standing at law man, who is politically and ideologically Afrocentric, separated, Pan-African. However, he is legally classified as white by the US government for the past 28 years. Wow, when was this one published? Let's see if it's at the bottom. Okay, so this is May 24th, so this has got to be recent. Okay, January 7th, so I trust, oh, this is his petition. Okay, so this is going back to 2012. And see, he's only 1,686 signatures, new goal. We need 2,000. My recommendation for all you people who put your signature on that, get it off. You're going to get in trouble messing around with black people. I'm going to tell you that right now. Black has no standing at law. He is currently organizing hundreds of other Egyptian Nubians in the US who are also classified as white, so that they will file a class action lawsuit against the US government to have the racial classification changed from white to black. Don't do it. Y'all gonna get in trouble. That's what happens when you get mess around with black people, especially when they don't know what they're doing, don't have their facts, and want to ignore concrete evidence showing that he made a mistake by going away from being classified as white. That is considered a breach of contract. So as such, they're punishing him for that. Oh, so you want to be black or African American? Great, we'll punish you. That's what we're already doing to these African Americans, because they're too stupid to read, comprehend, and apply. Egyptian Nubians are classified as white by the US government according to Directive Number 15 of the Office of Management and Budget, and the OMB reports directly to the president. So they know already, for those who are coming from Egypt into the US or from Africa into the US through US Customs, they're classified as white. That's an advantage for you. Why would you abandon that? And that information goes to two places. It goes to the Treasury, which is on the same level with the OMB, and then OMB reports directly to the president. So that's foolish to turn around and have a contract with the executive branch of the United States government knowing that you're white, and then you want to change that to black. That's foolishness and stupidity. You deserve a kick in the butt for that. Dr. Hefney was a bilingual resource teacher with Wayne County Regional Education Service Agency, that's Wayne County RESA in Wayne, Michigan, for 13 years. When he stated on his employment records that he is black, the Director of Human Resources sent him a letter which was copied to the superintendent, threatening him that his education career will be ruined if he did not change his racial classification on his employment records from black to white. Because remember, when he immigrated, they have him on contract as white. So he's being dishonorable. Now, he does have a right to self-identify. However, his contract, because he became naturalized, he was naturalized as white. Now he's in breach. A few days later, one of the top administrators told him, if you ever say that you are black again, no one will hire you. And if you hired, you will be running. And if hired, you will be running from one job to the other for the rest of your life. They told him, because this is the secret. If black people start calling themselves white on all their contracts, that's it. That changes the whole game. Other than that, black means you're a slave. Even though Wayne County RESA provides support and consultant services to all of Wayne County, which is 30% black, the superintendent was white, his 4 associate superintendents were white, and 95% of the administrators and consultants were white. So they're trying to tell you something. This was structured for lepers to be in control of the educational system of and the education of black people. And black has no standing at law, so they're not going to tell you that. So let's go forward here. This is another one, a website identifying Professor Mustafa Hefney. So he's an Egyptian immigrant who came to the United States and was told he was white despite his skin color. See, and the black media, y'all are useless. All you black media, that's BET, Essence, Jet, y'all are useless. You serve no purpose but to perpetuate slavery. To understand this, let us first establish the U.S. racial classification system. The Census Bureau defines race as a social category recognized by the United States and does not attempt to define race biologically, anthropologically, or genetically. So they're telling you they're not talking about that. They're talking about commerce, and that's what they're talking about. The Census Bureau recognizes the 5 categories of race. White people, person having origins in the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Right now, this here, who wrote this here? Okay, the pbsblog.com. You can see here, let's do a comparison. This is to show you how some of these people who call themselves Black or African American, they're not interested in changing anything. They're interested in maintaining the status quo and move on up to a deluxe apartment in the sky. We're going to go to, where is it here? Okay, here we go. So we're going to go back to the definitions. Now, again, anybody has a problem with what I'm saying, contact the U.S. Department of Education. I'm accepting what they're saying for valuable consideration with full reservation of my autochthonous and white rights for now and eternity. So when we go back here to the article, what they should have done was put the definitions. And this is to show you how Black media is slave media. And they know they're slave media. White, right? They put people with origins in Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. They put Black or African American in Africa. No, that's incorrect. That's wrong. That's misrepresentation. Then you have American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander. Now, American Indian or Alaska Native and Asian are not in the same category. They are split. So whoever, again, the pbs.org, we're supposed to put the definitions properly as they're separated here, as well as on the census, which has the same definitions, as well as the SF-181. So now when we go back here American Indian, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, that includes Central America, as well as the Caribbean, who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community attachment. The original peoples were the Olmecs. The Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incas came from out of the Olmecs. So what does this mean? The original American Indians were what? Dark skin, thick lips, broad nose. That's the original indigenous, not what Hollywood puts out, not from the people who are saying they're First Nations or say they're Native American, because they came from Siberia, and that's been already documented. Furthermore, to call oneself native means that's a person that's born in bondage. Just meditate on that word. So here they should have put all the definitions, and then they talk about the Asians, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, or the Indian subcontinent, including, for example, Cambodia, China, India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Pakistan, the Philippine Islands, Thailand, and Vietnam. And the origin, as we've already, thanks to Professor Jin Lee and Dr. Keith Chang, all the people who call themselves Asians come out of what they say the Africans. So they come from us. They're a genetic mutation of us. This is science. This is not emotion. This is logic, science, reasoning, and evidence. And if you have a problem with that, that's your problem. This is what it is. And then Black or African American is a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. There are none. And notice they're not considered what? Peoples. Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, or other Pacific Islands. So, and we know the South Pacific and the Pacific Islands were people, again, curly hair, dark skin, thick lips, broad nose. So notice how all these show original peoples, American Indian, Asian, original peoples. So they are and have standing at law. Black or African American, it's not original. Native Hawaiian, original peoples. White, original peoples. So how come all these other categories have original peoples, but Black or African American does not have that? Because Black or African Americans are not a people. They don't exist in law. They don't exist at law. They have no standing at law. They have no rights anywhere on the planet. And that's the secret. That's why you can't find the definition of Black in Black's Law Dictionary. You can't find African American. Is synonymous with what? Negro. Negro equals what? Slave. Okay, so we've got that clear. So there should be no mistaking the error that Professor Mustafa Hefny has done.
I also asked for unspecified financial damages. In 1996, I requested that Wayne State University in Detroit consider me for a faculty position as a black minority, but Wayne State University told me that I am white, and I was not considered for this position. I wrote to Wayne State University, and they wrote back to me regarding this matter 5 times. In 1998, my racial classification case was dismissed without prejudice. The court order stated, plaintiff may file a new action once standing is established.
Okay, stop that. They said plaintiff may file. Say it again, so this way I don't get it mistaken.
Plaintiff may file a new action once standing is established. End quote.
Dred Scott decision of 1857. So this is for all you black lawyers out there that said that the 14th Amendment overturned Dred Scott. No, it didn't. His court case proved it didn't. And it said the plaintiff may file once standing has been established. And what did Barack, who is a constitutional attorney, say? Black has no standing. The word black has no standing at law. So it's a dog and pony show. So let's be clear about that. We're supposed to be adults here. Let's start dealing with some reality. They're telling him, you want to be black, you got to have stand. Well, accept that. That's what you want to do. Now we're dismissing it once you have standing at law.
End quote, I'm sorry. This means that the case is still open. To view this court order, go to Mustafa A. Hafni on Facebook. In 1999, I applied for a teaching position with the Detroit Public Schools and put on the application that I am black. I had a successful job interview and I was approved for 2 different positions, bilingual teacher and homeroom teacher. I did not get either position due to pressure from my powerful former employer and due to the fact that I put on the application that I am black.
Okay. I don't know what more to tell you, black, African-American, Afro-Caribbean, African-Canadian, don't know what more to tell you all. The whole system is telling you, if you call yourself black, you have no rights. It's a game. Let me play that again, because I know people are going to be stunned when they hear this. He doesn't, I don't even think Professor Mustafa Hafni even comprehends the significance of that statement. They're telling him the secret for him to get his remedy and where he made his error, and he cannot see that. So I really hope it's not his ego that he's being blinded by.
Either position due to pressure from my powerful former employer and due to the fact that I put on the application that I am black. I did not get either position due to pressure from my powerful former employer and due to the fact that I put on the application that I am black. I did not get either position due to pressure from my powerful former employer and due to the fact that I put on the application that I am black.
So that's why some of you people who have great credentials can't get jobs and good paying jobs and good positions, because you're checking off black African American, has no standing at law. The employers know this. You need to read the M4 employer manual if you really want to get some insight. But as long as you check off black or African American, forget it. You have to check off white. That is the only solution. I don't care what anybody else out here who calls himself a black leader, whatever is saying. You have to call yourself white in commerce. That's the only way. And you have the full support and endorsement from the United States government, specifically the Department of Education. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're being persecuted, then say, okay, I want this to stop. Okay, call yourself white. Nah, I can't do that. But then black doesn't even exist. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody's paying attention. All right, and I really, this is for Professor Mustafa Hafni. So anybody who can get in contact with him, yeah, you could tell him to give me a call. My phone number is 587-712-0639. share this video with him and let him know. We're not done yet. We got a couple more things here to do, but I just had to go back to full screen. Please, Professor Mustafa Hefny, tell me, if you feel you're black, what did the ancient Nubians call themselves? That's what I want to know, because what is the word in the Nubian language for black? Because I'm sure you still speak your mother tongue. And then once you see that, you'll see where you made your mistake. This is the English language. They're changing the definition. You're trying to apply an Egyptian mistranslation of what the Egyptians called themselves, or the Nubians in particular. What did they refer to themselves as? You know what? Why wait? You have no standing at law anyway. So let me share my screen here. There we go. And we'll look it up. That will help a lot of people out. What did the Nubians call themselves? And I'm sure the computer intelligence will have the answer. Okay, Kush was the name of an early kingdom in northern Sudan, and first appears in Egyptian texts by about 2000 BC. This name was used not only by the Nubians themselves, but also by the Egyptians and the rest of the ancient world prior to the Greeks. Kish, or Kush, is the name of Nubia used in the Old Testament. Okay, let's see, Nubians. Okay, let's click on that, Wikipedia. I don't comprehend how grown folks ain't seeing this. These are people with PhDs, masters, and doctorates, and still going around calling themselves black or African American. That tells me they're hypnotized and programmed. They speak Nubian languages. Okay. Because if we can't find it here, I know there's got to be some Nubians that when they see this, what did you all call yourselves? Okay, today Africans of Nubian descent, let's see here, primarily live in southern Egypt, especially in the Luxor and Aswan area, and in northern Sudan, particularly in the region between the city of Wadi Haifa on the Egyptian-Sudanese border and Al-Dabba. Additionally, several groups known as the Hill Nubians live in the northern mountains and in southern South Kordofan state, Sudan. The main Nubian groups from north to south are the Halfawayan, Sikut, Mahas, and Dongola. So these are the names that they called themselves. So they did not call themselves black. And it will, for those that do know, please, I always leave comments in. Leave the comments open, so anyone who speaks Nubian, please put what it is that you guys call, the Nubians call themselves. Okay, so now here we have etymology. Throughout history, various parts of Nubia were known by different names, including ancient Egyptian, land of the bow, Kerma, Meroic, Lower Nubia, and Kush, and in Greek, Ethiopia or Ethiopia. The origin of the names Nubia and Nubian are contested. What is more certain is that they ultimately denote geographical provenance rather than ethnic group. Based on cultural traits, many scholars believe that Nubia is derived from the ancient Egyptian Nuba, gold. The Roman Empire used the term Nubia to describe the area of Upper Egypt and Northern Sudan. So what they call Upper Egypt is actually Southern Egypt, and what they call Upper Egypt is Lower Egypt. Another etymology traces the toponym to a distinct group of people, the Nubai, who in more recent times inhabited the area that would become known as Nubia. The derivation of the term Nubian has also been associated with the Greek historian Strabo, who referred to the Nubas people. So Nuba, Nubun, there you go. So this is the mistake that Professor Mustafa Hefny, he's trying to be anthropological, biological in a commercial world. Commercial and legal terms have totally different definitions than what would be considered layman or social diction or social definitions. Okay, so we got that covered. And so now, yes, I can't forget this video. This is important. So this is an important video as to why one needs to change their, if you're Black or African American, you got to call yourself white. You got to start doing everything white, and you have to change your contract.
Personally attends the grand finale, the dedication of the American Indian Memorial at Fort Wadsworth, New York. Tribal elders, some of whom fought against Custer, are paraded before the cameras, compelling evidence in the eyes of some that the final conquest of the American Indian is now complete. But like a smoldering fire, the spirit of these nations refused to be extinguished. Despite detribalization, the Narragansetts continued to make their presence known. Some chose to join the ranks of modern society. Others believed that assimilation could only lead to ruin.
By then, there were people who knew the game, had long since become familiar with the game that was being played. The Narragansett families who wished to remain traditionally as their ancestors had been, made sure there was the teaching. Go out there and learn all that you can from these people. But never forget who you are. Never forget you have your own language, your own religion, and your own way of acceptance.
In Rhode Island, some citizens who did not own property had to wait until 1928 before they were granted voting rights. But three groups were still officially barred by state law from casting a ballot: paupers, the mentally incompetent, and Indians. The only way the Narragansetts could participate in elections was by identifying themselves as African Americans. Charles Ernest Hazard confronted officials who enforced this practice. His brother, Joseph, one of the oldest members of the Narragansett Nation, recalls the moment.
Indians couldn't vote, so he went up to the State House and he says, it's on the charter that the Indians can't vote. And he says, you're voting, ain't you? And he says, no. He says, I consider myself a Narragansett Indian. If I vote, I'm voting under Negroes could vote, but not an Indian. And he said, I consider myself a Narragansett, not a black, so I'd like to have that changed. So they did.
So you have the option, you have the right to get out of that black dead status, come to the land of the living, the land of the white, and things will be all right. So again, I'm imploring anybody who knows Professor Mustafa Hefny, please send him this video. I'll be sending out hard copies so people can put it on their YouTube channels, and help him, help the elder from Nubia to realize that he had it all wrong. It's commercial terms, not, you know, Oxford English dictionary. It's legal definitions, as well as the U.S. Department of Education has advocated for that. This is a standard, and it's a global standard. So this is not isolated to just the United States corporation. This goes all around the planet. Anyone calling themselves black or African American is basically saying they don't exist in commerce. They're just a shell that's just walking around and energy can be extracted from. And with that, this is 5A comment number 158. Abu Gadur, Abu Gadur, Abu Gadur. White power, white power, white power. Tawahat ila paniteru, tawahat ila paniteru, tawahat ila paniteru. Amun.